Hello, Strat fans. I'm Jimmy James, and this is Strat-O-logy, the show for and by students of Strat-O-Matic. Today's topic is a listener request. Our roundtable is going to go back and look at their mystery tournament final league predictions, see what they got right, what they got wrong, and what they think about the teams now that over 100 games have been played. So sit back, grab your cards and dice, and let's roll.
Tournament play.
So, like we had talked before, I think it's time to peel that curtain back a little bit on the mystery tournament. As I said before with Sir Peter 2 weeks ago, really the biggest takeaway I've had from this finals league is how aggressive the moves have been. Much more than I expected, and I am definitely glad I made the moves I did when I did. And I've also been very surprised at how aggressive it has stayed with some of the lower level teams as they are still making moves, even though it's at a 20% drop now. For my team, I've had pretty good luck, especially on my injury reveals. Two guys that I had that were on bad years, I got an early injury reveal on Romano and Callison, and because of that, I grabbed Elson Howard, who now on an injury reveal has been proven out to be on a really good year. And Callison, as I've said before, I've dropped for Tony C because he had been injured for another team. And so I know it was one of 3 different years, and all 3 of those years, he had as good a stats as Callison, and he had more power in all of them. And really, that pickup truly has been one of the things that has probably helped my team the most. Boyer, Aparicio, great injury reveals early on. Colavito, Alou, Cash, Richardson, they're all playing like it's one of their top years and have been all season. So even though I haven't had an injury reveal on them, I was lucky the guys that I haven't had injury reveals on have been playing well. Hitting wise, pretty well set. Starters, some of my guys have been blown out a few times, but in my park and in my division, that's going to happen. But using Sir Dave of the Round Table's idea about comparing quality starts for pitchers compared to bad games, I definitely am very comfortable with all 5 guys. I've definitely had many more quality starts than blowouts. Bullpen is probably where I moved the most. I definitely had Stu Miller's worst year. Picked up McDaniel, and dude, he did not do any better. So then I went to Shantz. Early on, I had Horner, but I dumped him for Abernathy. I had kind of been going as a toss-up between those 2 guys when I was drafting originally. So when Horner had a couple bad games, Abernathy was still on there, and he is so good in homer parks. I will definitely make that as a recommendation if you are playing in the Six Trees Mystery and you're in a big park. He has so many years where he just keeps the ball inside the ballpark. So the one big thing that I did notice is that I was losing games in extra innings when I was out of bullpen arms and they were bringing in tired starters. Not too long ago, I dropped a few pinch hitters that weren't being used and picked up another pitcher as a mop-up guy, and hopefully that hole is patched. So I think I'm set to go. Fingers crossed, at Hal's mercy. When we come back, we have something very special for you. 2 shakes.
You're listening to the 365 Sportscast Network, the streaming future of sports talk radio. Listen to us round the clock on the net over 365sportscast.com. On your phone with the 365 Sportscast app, and on your favorite smart speaker by enabling the 365 Sportscast skill and saying, "Play 365 Sports." The views, opinions, and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of 365 Sportscast LLC, its owners and partners, or this network.
Okay, I have something to share with you today. Mystery Finals Division Leader Lee 300 sent us a letter, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And to remind you that we would love to hear from you too. Message us on social media or call us at 855-888-0096. Now, on to Lee's letter. Hi, Jimmy James. I heard you discuss your Tony Conigliaro pickup of my drop on your show this week with Peter Maffei when discussing mystery card reveals, and I just wanted to explain my thinking. Certainly, he has been a phenomenal addition to your Fenway team, racking up close to a 1.000 OPS for you, and it is your credit that you picked him up, and he may very well be your key in-season pickup for the entire season. But I was then, and am still now, totally comfortable with having dropped him. So let me explain. Of course, his hit-by-pitch injury revealed him to be either 64, 65, or 66, each pretty good cards. I really didn't want to have him on my team in the first place, since he's not really conducive to my Astrodome, and picking him up as a free agent just before opening night to provide some power in my otherwise anemic lineup. I felt I needed more power to be competitive in our West Division, since with you and Fenway, plus Atlanta and Detroit also in the division, I'll be playing a lot, 36 of the games, in automatic ballpark home run ballparks within the division. But I will also add that when I saw those 3 ballparks in my division, I was pretty happy about it. If I got the lockdown pitching that I was counting on getting with a $35 million pitching budget, I'd be pretty tough in the Astrodome. But Conigliaro got off to a miserable start, especially versus right-handers where he went 3 for 28 and not much better against left-handed pitching. Although he did have 3 ballpark chances in those first 14 games, they were all in the Astrodome, so they were all outs. My team's performance versus right-handed pitching was especially poor to start the season. I had no left-handed bats in my lineup. In his final 8 games for me, Conigliaro went 2 for 31, and through his 14 games, he only went 10 for 52, 1 homer, 3 RBIs. He wasn't a great fit for me in the first place, so I released him and picked up Jim Northrup, who gives me a right fielder 2 to Conigliaro's 3 that is somewhat important to me in the Astrodome, given that I am in run prevention mode. He can somewhat hit right-handed pitchers and has at least some pop, although not 8 ballpark chances per card, so those won't be outs at home. So, though I am sorry to see how well he is doing for you now, I can live with it. Though it would have been preferable for him to have been picked up by someone outside the division, but he is certainly a great fit for your team. I just have to hope that he's not too great, given the excellent team you put together. I'm hoping I will have just enough home run power to get by on the road with Milton and a surprising Demeter, but time will tell. Regarding your surprise at the aggressiveness of the player drops in this league, I definitely have my passive-aggressive slider set all the way to aggressive for this championship league, and was willing to drop cards that were underperforming very early on in hopes of picking up a better player from the pool. I generally am a bit more conservative in my other leagues, keeping underperforming and unrevealed players a bit longer before recycling them. But in this championship league, against the best mystery card players around, I wanted to get my team settled in way before the 42-game mark. As it turned out, I got very hot right after the first 18-game intra-divisional play, and wasn't compelled to really make many changes after that 18-game mark. That's sometimes a bad thing, since the other teams are mostly improving themselves during that time in between the games 19 and 42, especially pitching, while I sat pat. I'm pretty much committed to my team structure now and have to hope it's enough. The Mudville Time and the other 2 powerhouses in the West are certainly going to be a handful. So many games still remain to be played against the best mystery card players in the world. I still have to play the Mudville 9 18 more games this season, starting with 3 tonight at Fenway, plus 15 more games against each of the other 2 teams in the West. Oi, maybe Tony C could take the series off against all my right-handed pitchers. Just a suggestion. And Frankie is, of course, the favorite to win any mystery card league he's playing in. I'm glad I have a little margin for now anyways, but I'm not feeling very comfortable about it. It's all about making the playoffs. Then anything can and usually does. Lee. Thank you so much, Lee, for the insight, the kind words, and the message itself. Okay, back after this with our roundtable.
Sir Strat of the Round Table.
We're here on Sir Strat today doing something that we've had quite a few people that have asked us to do now, both listeners to the show and actually some of the guys from the Mystery Final League itself asked us to go back, relook at our picks, see what we think now that the teams have changed, now that we have a much better look at what the league is going to look like since the teams are pretty well set. So I thought we'd go back. We have here with us the same guys that we had last time for this, Sir Charles, Sir Peter, and Sir Tony. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Okay, so, and we're going to start this section with the East. Let's start with you, Peter. Your picks for the East was in first was Turneyzilla Battle Pants. Then you had Gritch. Then Small Ball Wonders, and then Phantom Mysterion, but you said that you thought it was going to be a really even league.
Oh, yeah. So I was right about it being even. Not really. I was right about Battle Pants, not even close. So I got this one completely wrong. I totally undervalued Gritch. I totally overvalued Battle Pants. Now, I will say this about Battle Pants. I do think that he has gotten extremely unlucky with the mystery cards. I think he's gotten some bad. And if you take a look, he has 44 roster moves. So I think he's just trying to salvage his season. He had a couple of injury reveals, I believe. And it just didn't pan out. And I guess I just really misread that team. With that said, I will say that Gritch, which a lot of other people had picked, I definitely undervalued that team. I think their pitching has been stellar. I think everything about that team that I undervalued is the reason why they're the favorite in that division now, and leading it going away.
Yeah, we're at 108 games played, and they've got an 8-game lead right now.
Yeah, I believe so. Obviously, their bullpen, Jim Brewer, he's just, the back end of that bullpen is virtually unhittable. And just everything about that, again, I really misvalued that team. I cannot say it enough. I just mea culpa on this one. And, I'm a little embarrassed on how wrong I got this division.
He made some early moves, but then he's been pretty set for quite a while and has stayed pretty steady to where, other teams in that division have kind of moved up and down. Emberati 76 was kind of right there with Gritch, and now he's dropped down, and Small Ball has kind of moved up a little bit, but Gritch has kind of moved away a little bit with that one. Okay, so for you, Charles, you said number 1, Gritch, number 2, Phantom Mysterion, number 3, Turneyville Battle Pants, and number 4, Small Ball Wonders. What are your thoughts about the East right now?
Well, I'm going to stick with my genius for picking Gritch, and the rest of them, I'll just wash my hands with on those picks. But I like Gritch right off the bat. One thing that he did, which I noticed, was he was going for a catcher platoon, and he gave up on it because his guys that were supposed to hit righties, Sims, Blanchard, Sawatsky, and Ellie Hendricks combined for like 12 for 108, and he cut ties with them quick, which is not unusual in this particular league. He had 19 total roster drops. And in a regular league, that would be high. In this particular championship league, it's kind of a low pick. If you look at his lineup, there are not a whole lot of superstars going down on it. Frank Robinson is pretty much the MVP, and Ron Santo, who he picked. Somebody else in the league dropped him when he was batting 206 for him. He picked up Ron Santo, and he's getting a 331 out of him. That's a really key move for him. His pitching, Stan Williams, my personal thing about championships is your number 4 and your number 5 starters win them if they're on their best cards. You can get a lot of mileage off those low rotation guys on their best cards because they're aces. You get an extra ace. So Stan Williams, even though he's only pitched 58 innings and he's pitched some relief for him, he's got a whip of .97. And so, Drysdale and Singer, and he's doing really well for his pitching. 3.66 ERA, 1.26 whip at DC Stadium, which is, a notorious hitter's park against right-handers, for right-handed batters, I mean. He's doing well. I'm really surprised by tourney finals battle pants, and I agree with Peter. I mean, what we've said, even in our initial show, was, all these predictions are great, but it comes down to the cards. And I think he just got some really, really bad cards. And it's not that he's lack of trying. He has 44 players no longer on the roster. So he's rostering 24 and he's removed 44. So anytime you do that, that's not a good look. He's battling for sure, but he's out. What are you going to do when your record is, a 361 winning percentage, 39 and 69, stick a fork in them.
So you still think you still going good with your pick on Gritch?
Yeah, Gritch all the way. Yeah. I really like him.
So I should have asked you, Peter, what about you? Of course, you're not saying battle pants anymore. Are you still saying it's going to be then your 2, 3, and 4, Gritch, Wonders, and Phantom then?
Yeah, I'll just take a mulligan and I'll just say Gritch. I'll just pretend that I never picked Battle Pants, and my number 2 pick will just ascend to the top, and then I can sleep better knowing that I picked the winner. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Gritch. I think obviously Gritch will hold out, and I think that'll be the only team from the East to progress.
Okay, sounds great.
Association of Battle Pants.
Yep. Okay, so how about you, Sir Tony? Your East picks were, you said number 1, Small Ball Wonders, number 2, Phantom Mysterion, number 3, Gritch, and number 4, the Tourneyville Battle Pants. So you did get the Battle Pants right.
I did. But Small Ball Wonders, I thought would do a little bit better, as we talked about early on, in terms of with Brooks Robinson over there at third base and White at first base. I thought they would do a little bit better. Joe Torre was having a nice run for them. But let's focus now on Mystery Gritch. One thing I've saw with Mystery Gritch that caught my eye is he has 2 catchers named Hale Smith. I didn't even know there were 2 catchers named Hale Smith. So I don't know if the intent was to just do that for a publicity to draw fans into the stands, but it's actually working because one's batting 294 and one's batting 276. So, and he's got about $2.8 some million wrapped up in his catchers. So, I mean, it's working for him, right? Don Drysdale got his 15 wins. Singer's having a nice year too. He has Jim Brewer saving games, did blow 6, but obviously he did something right with the 22 saves. So again, knowing then what I know now, obviously Gritch got it rolling. But again, Small Ball Wonders, they're only 8 games out, right? So playing a little bit better at home, 28-26, 24-30 on the road. So if I had to say it, I think Rich is looking solid, but Small Ball still got a shot, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, one more comment on them, please, Sir James.
Yeah.
This was the team that had the M&M boys, Mail and Mays, and I see they're both cut and released. So
no, I think that was the Tourneyzillas.
Yeah, next. New York Finals had the M&M boys.
Yeah, I just looked at the players they cut. First of all, it almost looks like a full 40-man spring training roster of just the players that are cut. But Maris and Mantle were right there on that list with Alou and Verdon. So, like I said, they tried a lot. But we were wondering how that M&M boys were going to play out for him. Remember whenever we talked about that?
Yeah, but that was a different team. I think he picked him up later.
Yeah, that was for the New York Finals tourney. They were the people that had the M&M boys drafted. So.
Yeah. What it was
that he went for both of them.
No, yeah, Mantle. So after Mantle was dropped by the one team, then again, Battle Pants picked him up later in the season.
and then subsequently dropped him and Maris.
They both been played multiple times now.
Interesting.
Okay. Definitely.
But
Okay.
it goes to show you, the more moves you make, it does minimize. I think it minimizes your chances. I mean, I don't know. That was a lot of transactions he made to Battle Pants.
Well, they're playing for a tournament, so a lot of panic sets in. I know that when I've been in leagues, if I'm making that many drops and adds, I can just taste the defeat in my mouth.
That's the fine line, right? I mean, there's that fine line right there.
Yep.
You want to get better, but you're making a lot of moves to do it. And it's not working out, so you just keep on going, like you said.
Well, I think you can kind of see that once you get to a certain point that you're trying to catch that lightning in a bottle, and it's very hard to find that, and it's very rare, and I think it often pulls you down farther sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes when you step in dog shit, it doesn't matter. You can't clean it off.
Yep. Okay, so that'll be it for us talking about the East right now. We'll be back with more after this.
You're listening to the 365 Sportscast Network, the streaming future of sports talk radio. Listen to us round the clock on the net over 365sportscast.com. On your phone with the 365 Sportscast app, and on your favorite smart speaker by enabling the 365 Sportscast skill and saying, "Play 365 Sports." The views, opinions, and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of 365 Sportscast LLC, its owners and partners, or this network.
Sir Strat of the Round Table.
We are back with Sir Tony, Sir Charles, and Sir Peter talking about the Central Division. Let's start with you this time, Tony. Your first team was Frontiers, then you had Arroyo, then Florence, and then Zilla.
Well, I kind of hit it with Frontiers, right? They're leading this pack, and that's with Seaver, Stottlemyre, and of course, there's my man, Ray Sadecki. You guys all know how when I play the 60s deck, I value Ray Sadecki with a 15-5 record. A lot of innings pitched at 172.2. I think Sadecki's very valuable in this 60 series. Then he also comes back with Dick Selma at 5-2 with 2 saves. Clipstein has 14 saves. So he's pitching well. I mean, he's pitching to a tune of a 339 and a 132 whip. So he's pitching well. And then, of course,
Sadecki's been the best pitcher all season.
He's also hitting well. I mean, obviously with a 268 batting average with a 336 and a 424 slugging. Go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
So Sadecki has been one of the very best pitchers. He was had the award for Cy Young most of the year, and he's still second in there.
Yeah, he's pitching well. I mean, I liked his pitching early on. That's why, it was one of the reasons why I gave him some kudos. But he had Boyer over at first, and Boyer's at third. He's a 1E19. Willie Mays with the 1-5 and an E7 in center. And, Mays is batting for 267, but slugging 647. He's getting a lot of mileage out of those guys. And I think, like I said, I still like this team. I like this team very much. As far as the Arroyo Dons, I had them second. Couldn't have been no further than wrong with that. That was Sandy Koufax and Gaylord Perry. I was off a little bit on that one. And then then the other two teams are flying in the middle with the Zillis and Florence.
Sounds good. Okay, so you, Sir Charles, you had Florence, then you had New Frontier, Arroyo, and you also had Zillas at the bottom.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing with my picks here. I had Florence, and Florence has a good team and a good lineup, but again, they have $24 million wrapped up on Yaz batting 229, Monday batting 226, and Kilmer batting 212, and it's just about killed them. Also, they did not make a lot of moves. Their bullpen numbers are pretty poor. they didn't make a lot of moves to improve themselves. And so they missed that opportunity. So they're my biggest disappointment in my predictions. In terms of the leading New Frontier, I had them as a wild card, but I had them possibly winning them all. And when I look at them now, I'm like, I don't see anything super special except a winning team like Mays 267, but he has 40-something homers, 45 homers. But like, if I was pitching against this lineup, I'd be very underwhelmed by them. Like, can Hirschberger continue to be good pop off the bench, batting 360? That's key for them. Their entire infield was revamped. They had so many drops on their infield. Now what they have left is they have Boyer, Casco, Hauser, Belanger, and Tony Taylor, and they're all kind of mixing and matching. Like Casco is great off the bench, but he seems to be starting now based on pure need. So I don't know if this team New Frontier can really hold out. They have great pitching in terms of their starters, and their pen's pretty solid too. There's no dog coming out on the mound except maybe Reed, but Reed is like their fifth starter. He's got Selma comes in. Selma and Reed kind of switch off in that slot. But, they have Seaver, Stottlemyre, and Sadecki all with asterisks. So they're going every fourth day. So New Frontier is an interesting call. I don't know if the winner is going to come out of this division. Arroyo Dons, I predicted would be right where they are. And Zilla is interesting. Overall, it's kind of a weak division. Like New Frontier is the only team over 500, and it might just be because it's such a weak division. So we'll see about this one.
Well, and you can definitely say that the Mantle Maris did not work out for this team.
And if it did, the New York Finals, Tony Zillas, they would be right up there battling for first. But he knew right away that he was on Mandel's injury card, I believe, and he was on Maris's bad card. Maris has been picked up by a bunch of teams, and he's combined for 0 home runs with all of them.
It's definitely a bad Maris card. There's no doubt about that. It's definitely the year you don't want.
New Frontier is just an above average team, but they're good enough to win that division. And once the playoffs hit, anyone can win.
Yep, I agree. Especially if Frankie plays really well, man. He was number one in at the end of the season in points, and he's been in 7 out of the last 8 years. So I was talking with another player in the tournament, and that's what they said, that they're always, one of the things that they try to avoid is playing against him in the playoffs because he's a tough playoff player.
Oh, he can mix and match. He's got those 3 big starters, Seaver, Stottlemyre, and Sadecki. He can mix and match with them. He only has to use his 4 or 5 guys once a season between both of them. Once a series, between both of them. So he's pretty much lined up for the playoffs pitching-wise.
Yeah, I agree. I agree very much. Okay, Sir Peter, you had the Zillas number 1, Florence as the wild card, Arroyo, and then New Frontier. So,
again, a terrible, for the New Frontier.
Bizarro world.
Yeah, I agree with Sir Charles there. I had the Malcolm Gladwell blink test. I looked at New Frontier and I just thought super underwhelming. There was nothing about that roster that stuck out to me. Obviously they had it was pretty much the opposite. I thought they had a lot of money invested in Mays and not a lot of money invested anywhere else. And I thought for Zillas that, I thought the M&M boys would pan out. I didn't realize it would be a complete disaster for them. But if go to my initial pick, the Zillas, this is a prime example of, I know Sir Tony is also a huge proponent of defense. And if you take a look at the Tony Zillas, one of the reasons why I loved this team was first of all, I'm a huge Fergie Jenkins fan, no matter where he is, but I really liked their pitching. It had a lot of top line pitchers they weren't going to throw a dog out there every day. They've ended up, subsequently dropping quite a few. But I think one of the reasons why they've had to do so is their defense is pretty poor. They're just not fielding a solid defensive team out there. They have a lot of 4s. They have, a lot of, 3s with high E counts. So I just think it's making their pitching that much worse. Having all that money invested in the M&M boys and not panning out, you're right off the bat, you're going to start chasing. You will start chasing more. bad money after bad money. You know, they had Richie Ashburn. He didn't pan out. And it just, they kind of went down that spiral. Now, if you go to the current leader, who I saw as, again, didn't see them as a good team. I'm still reeling from that pick. But as I dig it, as after 108 games it is, they have the two of the top pitchers in the league. Every 4 days, or every 4 days, they're going to throw out Tom Seaver. And then after that, they're going to throw Stottlemyre, who's just been lights out. And then Sadecki, who's obviously been the Cy Young winner so far. So, they could bet that fourth pitcher could be just about anybody. But they go into a series with two or three of those, or all three of those guys. They're the favorite each one of those games. And of course, having Mays out there, Mays hasn't hit as well as he could have, but he's still hitting 45 home runs with 103 RBIs. And, Batty behind the plate has been spectacular. His defense has been spectacular. And they have all the right pieces in all the right spots, in my opinion. And again, Hirschberger, again, like you said, off the bench has been key for them. And then for the rest of, obviously the rest of that division, I think Arroyo and Florence. I did have Florence as the wild card, but they've sort of hit some bad luck as well. And I will say this as we go a little further, I am fairly amazed on the amount of moves made per team. And I think Charles said it earlier, is that this is for all the marbles, and they're trying to correct any mistakes early on. But if you look at Florence, I do think they got unlucky with some picks, and they have tried to chase some success from other from the free agent pile. I did like their pitching, but it just looks like their pitching hasn't quite panned out. Obviously, being in Candlestick, I thought should have helped them, but knowing that this is the finals league, I wouldn't be surprised if they just load up lefties against them, and lefties are hitting them out of the park left and right on them. A lot of money in Yastrzemski. Again, Yastrzemski is 229 out of $10 million. It's not gonna get you very far. So again, another one I got wrong. So I don't feel good about that one again.
One of the things is it's tough for me with that Tony Oliva card, because it's so much money for him to only hit one hand. And Yaz can be that same way too, to where they are real liabilities when you have to face left-handed pitching. They really are. And to have both of those guys on the same team, and like you said, that $9 million Killebrew card, man, only 17 home runs and 200 batting average. That's just that's so much of your salary tied up in something that you think it's got to work out sometime. What year didn't he hit?
Yeah, and that's just about 50% of their offense, of their hitters, and nobody's hitting above 225 or 229, for that matter. So that's just never going to win you. And their on-base percentage is not great. And again, Tony Oliva, obviously everybody in this league is a savvy player, and you see those cards. If you throw a lefty, you throw a lefty at this team, they're going to struggle mightily. And they have
that Gentile card. He dropped that early, but really he hasn't done a whole lot of big name dropping.
Yeah, what it looks like is he made his battle plan, and it just didn't pan out. But he doesn't really have anywhere else to move off of, because I don't know whether he was giving it 100 at bats, 150 at bats, or was waiting for the drop bad. And it looks like everybody else sort of was playing that musical chair game with all the rest of their roster. And he thought maybe, just sticking to it might be the plan. But he sort of backed himself into a corner. That's kind of what I see.
I think you stick with people with those type of salaries, as, almost 9 with Killebrew, 10.5 with Yaz, 7.5 with Oliva, 6 with Monday. Dump at a higher percentage, dude. That's a lot of money gone.
And those are the guys that are supposed to carry your team, or even if two of them are having good years, they can still carry the team. And maybe you'll catch the second best with the third best card with the other guys, and that'll be good enough. But boy, that's again what I said, that's 24 million wrapped up on a bunch of bums.
Yep. Definitely that's definitely been their problem. Okay, I think that's it for the Central. We'll be right back with the West.
the Strat of the Round Table.
We are back with Sir Charles, Sir Peter, and Sir Tony. We will be talking about the West now. Okay, let's start with you, Sir Charles. Your picks were Plainview number 1, Mudville number 2, Flatbush number 3, and Haley's Heroes at the bottom. But you thought this one was going to be real close. It was going to battle out till the end. And your other thought was whoever made the best early moves was going to be the guy that came out of this division.
Well, I'm right about battling to the end. Like this division, everyone's at 500 ball or better. They're all plus run differentials. What I missed was, and they all 3 out of 4 have the offensive part. It's the team that played in the Astrodome, the Flatbush, that's leading the league. And, I'm a little surprised by that. I thought they wouldn't be able to compete when they moved to the more offensive-minded ballparks. Plainview, I picked them to win, even though they're in last place. They're still respectable, 54-54, and they're in the top 6 teams in the whole league at 54-54. But what went down with Plainville is, Plainville is the team that I was thinking of. That their bullpen, everyone's over 4 ERA. They're very unreliable with whips. Of course, they're playing in Atlanta. But, he stayed the course. He only dropped 9 players the entire season. And, by staying the course, it probably gained him a couple of games. But, he's 13 games below 500. 13 games out of the league, and he's 11 out of the wild card. So with 50-something games to go, he might be toast. But I think he played well. I do owe Hallie's Heroes an apology. I thought they'd be the worst team in the league on how they lined up, but they're 56-52, and they've done some good adjustments. They're the ones that did some early adjustments, like I was talking about, and it's good enough to make them 56-52. So I thought he did a great job managing. Mudville is right where I thought you would be, in second place, but a big lead in the wild card. I mean, you're going to have to really, Mudville's going to have to really choke it up to not make the playoffs. I mean, to lose 9 games off the pace with 54 to go, that's a big choke. So Mudville's getting some really good offensive numbers. They've got some guys, a lot of guys. Calavito's hitting over 300. Felipe Lou's hitting over 330. He's hitting 333. Tony C's batting 323. They're batting 280 as a team. They've out-homered their opponents by 24. Like Mudville's looking super strong. They're definitely a team to look out for the playoffs. I didn't think their pitching was going to be strong, and they've done all right in that department. Good enough to be where they are. Flatbush, I'll give credit where credit is due. Lee is 67-41 in the Dome. He's kept his team really, really solid. He hasn't fiddled around with them too much. He plays well to his ballpark. He's not super fast. There's a whole lot of E's and D's, and he doesn't steal bases except for Maury Wills, who has 26. The rest of Maury Wills has 26. Roy White has 3, and he must have the settings for never steal or don't steal for the rest of them, because they have not even an attempt the rest of the way. So I think managers that line up against Flatbush, and especially in the playoffs, if you got a +2 catcher, let him ride. Like you're not going to get many stolen base attempts from that Flatbush. So you might be able to go with your lesser defensive catcher who can hit. One interesting thing that I noticed is I was wondering if he was hiding 2 pitchers, because he's got 4 asterisk starters, and then he's got Stegman and Early Win. Stegman and Early Win with 0 innings pitched. Well, he just picked up Stegman today. So he's still trying to find some lightning in a bottle. And I'm thinking that he's looking at Stegman as a lefty in the pen, even though he's a 1R in general. He only has 1 card that's a 1L, and that's a terrible year. And he's got some even. So he doesn't have the ability to get lefties out. Peronoski's having a horrible year. Early Win is a guy that, he's had since the end of August, 0.0 games played. He was picked up on August 25th. He's pitched 0.0. So he's a placeholder for a team that wants to have basically an 8-man staff. That's how I'm looking at them. But that's a solid strategy. It's used all the time. I don't see Flatbush. I think Flatbush and Mudville are going to go down and do some battle. But I think that currently, it's going to come down to Gritch, Mudville, and Flatbush for the whole big banana.
One real interesting thing about Flatbush, they're 26 games over 500 with only a 50-run differential.
That's what you get.
Pretty amazing.
That's what you get at a ballpark that's a 1 roll for a homer for lefties and a 1-2. One thing I didn't look at their home road splits. So if I can look at them real quick, on the road, they've hit 63 homers. At home, they've hit 37. And their pitching at home, they've given up 42. And on the road, they've given up 85. So they're definitely not built for a high offensive ballpark. They've been out homered 127 to 100. But that's the thing. If they're pitching, if they can get that extra game in the Astrodome, they'll be in good shape.
Definitely, I agree. That would be between if Mudville and Flatbush, home field advantage between those two teams is very important.
I agree.
Okay, so now, Sir Tony, let's go on with you. You had Mudville number 1, Plainville number 2 as your wild card pick, Flatbush 3, and Hollis Heroes number 4.
I think I'm right about one thing. I like Mudville to win this thing. I still do. And it's for the same reason as last time. I mean, I'm looking at the defense up the middle, Aparicio and Bobby Richardson. Batting average, Richardson's hitting, 252? You have some Jose Pagan, a nice solid utility guy there, batting 316, and Aparicio's hitting 268. I mean, not only are you getting defense out of those guys, you're getting moderate offense out of Richardson, very good at offense production out of Aparicio. Like I said, I still like that. I still think you're strong up the middle. I think your pitching is good with a 381 and a 130. The whip's a little bit high, I think, with this team, but I think, like I said, they make up for that in other areas. I couldn't have been more wrong about Plainville, right? I had them winning it, you said. So I couldn't have been more wrong there. Looking at them, I mean, Gary Nolan, Dave McNally, I think Carlton. I mean, I think that's what I liked about them initially was their starting pitching specifically. But again, and they didn't make very many moves. Like I said, 9 moves, as he alluded to. So I mean, they did kind of stay the course, and they're, like I said, they're a 500 team. I just don't think that that's going to be enough right now with the way these other teams are playing. Obviously, with 50 some games left, it's probably not. But I'm still going to say Mudville's going to win this thing based on his defense, his pitching, and then, like I said, I like Gritch in there, and Flatbush is looking strong, but I don't think they're I wild card for them maybe or Mudville. But at the end of the day, I mean, I still think Mudville's got what it takes to win this thing. So that's just my take on that. And
one interesting thing that you said about that the defense is I've got 153 double plays, and the next closest is 106.
You're music to my ears, James. I always said if I can limit the other team's at bats and shorten the game, I had a better chance to win. And as Peter alluded to earlier on, he actually said it in allude to it. Defense is what I roll with, and that's the reason why I try to get moderate pitching in any of these decks and play in big parks that don't allow very many home runs. What I find, as Sir Charles said, I find that I like to play better in the ones that don't allow very many homers, but also can get moderate amount of singles because I have to also hit offensively in these parks. So I modified that a bit, but I do like to have strong defense for that reason. trying to shorten that game, right? And limit the number of at bats for the other team. And there's nothing that kills an inning like a double play.
Well, and because like Charles had said about how the Mudville is basically a high octane offense. Not only have I got defensively the most double plays, I've also hit in to the most double plays by about 40 also. So I'm definitely living and dying by the double play this year. No
That's
doubt
a good
about
point.
No doubt about it. Okay. So, Sir Peter, you had Flatbush number 1, Mudville number 2, Plainview number 3, and Hollis Heroes number 4. And you said it was based on the fact that Flatbush had that pitcher's park. But one other thing I want to say about that, until just the last couple of days, this has been the order we've been in all year long. It's been Flatbush 1, me 2, Plainville 3, Hollis Heroes 4, until just recently.
Well, I knew it all along. I mean, I obviously I didn't, pay much attention to the East and the Central. So I paid all my, the way I really picked was the West. That's why I got it right this time. But all kidding aside, so obviously, yeah, my initial thoughts when I looked at it, I always like the pitchers' parks. Flatbush is in a division that is all about the hitters. And, if you take a look, Flatbush has kind of minimized the damage of the rest of the hitters' teams. And what I also said is that it was going to make their team better when they went to opposing parks, and they've done just that. They're slugging about 125 points higher when they're outside of the Astrodome, which is obviously natural for the park. But what it's done is it's taken their mediocre offense and made it a good offense and really helped them out on the road. So obviously, yes, they are winning. Pardon me. They're winning on the, they're winning at home, 37-17, but 30-24 on the road. If you can be, obviously above 500 on the road, you're going to have a good season. When it comes to Mudville, I think the comment that I made was, does their pitching even matter? And obviously, it does matter in this, this season. Mudville's pitching has been a differentiator, but their offense is what it is all about. 150 something, what is it? Almost 160 home runs, 159 to be exact. Their home runs. I'm a big fan of the double. It's getting that second and third hit with the two bases and knocking in those extra runs in the inning, and they've done just that. But I think the story of this division will be the difference between the vast difference between the way Flatbush is constructed and the way Mudville is constructed. And down the stretch, I think that will be the most telling and the biggest factor in who becomes victorious. I obviously, I will be changing my picks officially. The wild card, obviously the division winner and the wild card will be Flatbush and Mudville. I still think it's going to be Flatbush winning that division. I think Mudville will end up now. Obviously, is going to win that wild card. You're going to have to try to lose the wild card with the lead you do have. But I really like Flatbush, and I like their pitching, and I like the way they're constructed. And if they can get home field in throughout the playoffs, they will be my new favorite to win this league.
Very cool. So one of the things about Flatbush that was pretty amazing was at the beginning, they just had a stretch where they were on the road where they just could not lose. It was pretty amazing. I can't remember, like a 19-2 stretch. It was really so. It's
Wow.
That really helped them out at the very beginning. Another thing that I think is very interesting, and one of the players had brought it up about 30, 40 games ago, that I think he said it was a game 69, that the West had a 571 winning percentage against the rest of the league.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's, and you take a look and you look in the expanded, going outside the division, Flatbush is 48-24 outside the division. Mudville's 43-29 outside the division. Hollis Heroes is 39-33 outside the division. And Plainview is 40-32 outside the division.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, I think all three of us, or all four of us, decided that this was going to be the toughest division, or this was going to be a division that had the best teams, overall teams. I didn't think it would be the tightest, but I thought, they'd be the best teams. What I will say is that what obviously can come down would be play a huge role down the stretch. I think Mudville has the advantage in the division for the tiebreaker. For obviously, if it comes down to a tiebreaker situation where you're going to need the division record as a tiebreaker, that could be huge, because I think Mudville is currently a better has a better division record than the Sledgehammers, and I think they will do better against Halley Heroes and Plainview than Flatbush will. I know that's contradictory to what I said, but I just think that they do match up a little bit better. But I think Flatbush overall matches up better with Mudville. So I still think they're going to finish. I think they'll finish in this order. And yeah, good luck to you down the stretch.
All right. Good work, James.
Okay, so let's do just a quick wrap up. Who is going to be, let's just go through. Before, Peter, you had your overall winner as the Zillas. I think you'll probably be changing that. Who do you think is going to come out, and who's your pick now?
All right, so I'll be very specific the way that it'll pan out. I really like Flatbush, but I will say this: Flatbush and Mudville will meet in the finals, and it will come down to a game at the Astrodome. And unfortunately, I think Mudville's bats will fall silent in the Astrodome, and Flatbush wins in a tight, one-run game in Game 7 of the finals.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll take that. Okay, Charles, you had Gritch winning it all. What do you think?
I would think that it's going to come down to Flatbush and Mudville, but my official prediction is, you know what? I'm not a pink hat. I am not a bandwagon fan. I have to stick with Gritch. If I picked them preseason, I'm just going to stick with them.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Sir Tony, you got the last pick. So who do you think? You had me, Mudville, going. What do you think now?
I still think Mudville, Gritch, Flatbush, Frontier, Mudville playing Gritch, and Mudville to win. I don't know. I'm not going to be as specific as Sir Peter. I'd say maybe all you got to do is win one more than him to win the series. So this has been a very competitive field from the top from the top guys at the bunch. The one whole West Division to even the winner of the East, the winner of the leader of the East, the leader of the Central. I mean, they're running away. They're in their divisions, but that West bounces everything off. I just think you couldn't ask for more in a final tournament like this as far as competitiveness.
I agree. I think you've seen a lot of good teams built. I also see a lot of guys that did the right things to try to fix it, whether it worked out or not. I think
adjustments are very important, right? Adjustments are what you do here. You got to adjust. So, and adaptability.
Well,
I'm surprised that Peter's not picking Battle Pants to win it all.
Yeah.
I hear you. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys so much for this. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sir Tony. Thank you, Sir Charles. Thank you, Sir Peter. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, James, for having us. It's fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Strat all the time. Thank you.
We'll be back after this. big thank you this week to Lee 300, today's roundtable, Sir Pete, Sir Charles, and Sir Tony, our regular cast of characters, Andrew Burkham, Joaquin Lewis III, Carolyn Snyder, Jimmy Dees, and of course, the music man, Jeff Teczon. All the music you heard today was written and produced by Jeff. Like Lee, we want to hear from you. Leave us a message on social media or give us a call. Our toll-free number at 855-888-0096. Hey, Jeff, will you play us out?
You got it, Jimmy James.
Find us every Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, on 365 Sportscast radio streaming service. Download the app. Makes it crazy easy to listen. See you next week. Same Strat time, same Strat channel.
Jimmy James.
You're listening to the 365 Sportscast Network, the streaming future of sports talk radio. Listen to us round the clock on the net over 365sportscast.com. On your phone with the 365 Sportscast app, and on your favorite smart speaker by enabling the 365 Sportscast skill and saying, "Play 365 Sports." The views, opinions, and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of 365 Sportscast LLC, its owners and partners, or this network.